Alright, Ripley fans, you're going to want to hear this. I know there are haters out there who are about to go crazy, flood social media, and express their outrage. Well, let me tell you something that might upset them even more, but will have Rhea Ripley fans celebrating. When I saw this, I knew I had to make this video and talk about it because, love her or hate her, Rhea Ripley is a polarizing figure in WWE. She gets a reaction no matter what. And today, I'm going to tell you why 2024 has been a huge year for Ripley, how she's made a massive impact, and why her rise in WWE isn't just impressive, it's groundbreaking. Now, I've been a huge fan of Rhea Ripley for a long time. Ever since I saw her down in NXT UK years ago. She looked completely different back then, had a different gimmick, and while she's evolved into the powerhouse she is today, I always believed in her. From that first appearance, you could tell she had star potential. Over the years, Ripley has consistently shown her toughness, and recently, that toughness was put to the test when she suffered a broken orbital bone. Yeah, that had to hurt, and it looked like it might set her back for a while. But no worries, because she's back on television, and let me tell you, she came back with a vengeance. Ripley returned to the ring wearing a mask, looking like a female version of Mankind, and honestly, it was a look that worked. She didn't need to hide behind the mask, but it was clear that the injury was serious, and WWE was being cautious with her recovery. Despite that, Ripley's back doing what she does best, and her participation in the 2024 Women's War Games match at Survivor Series is proof that she's not only back, she's ready to go full throttle. She'll be teaming up with the likes of Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and others to face off against Rhea's old rival Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and a few more top stars. That's a pretty stacked matchup, don't you think? So, what's so special about 2024 for Ripley? Why has this year been a game changer for her? Well, let me break it down for you. First, you have to understand that Ripley has gone from being a hated heel to one of the most beloved babyfaces in WWE today, and you know how difficult it is to make that transition, especially in WWE, where the lines between heel and face can often blur. But Ripley has done it. She's taken what could have been a major setback, a brutal injury, and turned it into an opportunity to grow. She's become one of WWE's biggest stars, not just in the women's division, but in the entire company. You want proof? Well, here it is. WWE recently released its list of top merchandise sellers for 2024. And guess who's on that list? Rhea Ripley. Yep, you heard that right. She's in the top 10, beating out some of WWE's biggest names. Now, let's put that into perspective. We're talking about Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, who's sitting at number 1. Roman Reigns, the face of WWE for years, comes in at number 2. CM Punk, still a major draw, sits at number 3. And who's at number 7? Rhea Ripley. That's right, she's outselling top stars like Randy Orton, Damian Priest, and others. And here's the kicker. Ripley is a heel who turned babyface in 2024, which is typically a much harder transition. Babyfaces tend to sell more merch, and here Ripley is, a top-selling star in WWE, even though she was a heel for much of 2023. But why is that significant? Well, babyfaces generally attract more merchandise sales because fans like to support them, but Ripley managed to sell as much, if not more, than other top stars while still technically a heel for much of the year. That's massive, and it speaks volumes about her appeal. Why did 2024 work so well for Ripley? Let's take a closer look at how WWE built her up. She had an incredible 2023, culminating in a dominant victory at the Royal Rumble and eventually capturing the Women's World Championship from Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39. That win solidified her as one of the top stars in the company, and it was clear that WWE had big plans for her. But when 2024 rolled around, they found ways to elevate her even further. Ripley's year started off with a bang when she began a high-profile feud with Nia Jax, a returning monster in the women's division. This was a big moment because Ripley was working in front of her home crowd in Australia at Elimination Chamber. It wasn't just a normal match, this was the main event, and Ripley was positioned as the underdog against one of the most dangerous women in WWE. She didn't just survive, she thrived. By the end of the feud, fans had already begun rooting for her, even though she was technically a heel. From there, WWE shifted her into a program with Becky Lynch leading into WrestleMania 40. It looked like Becky was the favorite to win, but Ripley pulled off a major victory by retaining the Women's World Championship. I don't think many saw that coming, especially given how dominant Lynch has been, but Ripley stood tall, proving that she's one of the company's most reliable performers. After Mania, Ripley was set to feud with Liv Morgan, but then disaster struck. She suffered a shoulder injury, sidelining her for a while, which threw a wrench into WWE's plans. In the meantime, Liv Morgan took center stage, closing segments and having multiple big matches, establishing herself as a fan favorite. Liv made the most of her opportunity and kept the momentum going during Ripley's absence. But when Ripley returned, it was like nothing had changed. She picked up right where she left off, and the rivalry with Liv Morgan became even more heated. After some intense matches, Ripley's storyline took another turn when Dominic Mysterio, one of the most hated heels in WWE, turned on her, aligning himself with Liv Morgan. That betrayal fueled the fire, and soon, Ripley was embroiled in a heated feud that further endeared her to the fans. But just when things seemed to be on the upswing for Ripley, disaster struck again. She suffered a broken orbital bone. That injury threatened to derail her momentum, but WWE handled it carefully, giving her time to recover and protecting her in the process. But despite the injury, Ripley remained one of the most popular and marketable stars in WWE. The company had to adjust, canceling some of their planned singles matches and rebooking for the War Games match at Survivor Series, where Ripley will once again be at the center of one of WWE's biggest events. It's clear that WWE has big plans for her. They're not just going to let her fade into the background, they're going to continue to build around her. But what's next for Ripley? You can expect her to continue this year with more high-profile matches, and there's a strong possibility that she'll be involved in one of WWE's marquee bouts at the end of the year. Could she face Raquel Rodriguez in a singles match? It seems likely, and given the chemistry they've built, it could be a show-stealing match. Fans will be waiting to see if Ripley can keep her momentum going and retain her championship against some of WWE's top stars. There are additional time and physical sacrifices associated with being a professional wrestler. It also frequently deprives performers of the chance to have a typical birthday celebration. As TBS champion Mercedes Moné notes, Moné talked candidly about her previous birthday experiences in the WWE Women's Locker Room, which often took place around the time of the yearly Royal Rumble Premium Live event, in a recent issue of the Moné Mag newsletter. For me, birthdays aren't about cake and candles, they're about the roar of the crowd and the thrill of the ring, Moné wrote in his letter. My special day has become anything but conventional because I'm a wrestler and my birthday frequently comes around Royal Rumble time. I've celebrated birthdays in high-stakes battles instead of parties, surrounded by other wrestlers and the fervent energy of ardent fans. My birthdays were transformed into an exhilarating and joyous experience by the Royal Rumble's surprises and breathtaking moments. Yes, friends occasionally give me tiny gifts, but the true joy comes from performing in front of a crowd that makes every moment special. Moné famously teamed up with Paige, now Saraya, in a Royal Rumble FanFest match against fellow WWE NXT talents Emma and Summer Rae on her 21st birthday in 2013. Moné rose to fights on the main event of the Royal Rumble in the years that followed, including a 2021 defense of the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship against Carmella and a 2019 attempt at the WWE Raw Women's Championship. Before switching to the Thunderdome's virtual audience setting, WWE first broadcast its main roster television shows from the empty WWE Performance Center during the COVID-19 epidemic. Moné and her female co-stars, however, had to get used to performing without the customary roars, but they still celebrated each other's birthdays backstage despite that. Honestly, it felt like every week was someone's birthday. Moné penned, "We would bring in cakes, flood the room with balloons, and create a joyous mood that made everyone feel better. But those events were about more than just birthdays, they were about the ties we created throughout a terrible period. The locker area became a cheerful and safe place because of the shared stories, the laughter, and even the silly decorations. It served as a reminder that we could always find happiness in one another's company, even in the midst of a difficult world. In July 2021, WWE finally made a full-time comeback to touring, starting with the last WWE SmackDown episode before to Money in the Bank. At the time, Moan, as Sasha Banks, was still engaged in a feud with the EST Bianca Belair, who had defeated her at WrestleMania 37 for the SmackDown Women's Championship. After 3 years, Moan has recently received the cutest birthday gift from her AEW teammate Harley Cameron, and she is currently the TBS champion for All Elite Wrestling. However, as Moan pointed out in other parts of her email, that happened after the AEW social media staff unintentionally shared a birthday image of her rather than Mercedes Martinez, who was born on November 17.